initial impressions of just watching tape on Mustafa, and then what has it been like kind of working with him here this week?
Yeah, he's his tape from last year was pretty impressive for a rookie. A violent, fast trigger football player, and we've only had a couple days with him now, but he's made of the right stuff. That's for damn sure.
Robert, Mika Egbuka, I hope I'm saying that right. What is it about him, or what skill set does he have that's given him so much success so early in his career?
He's powerful for such a young man. Powerful hands, and obviously he's playing with a lot of confidence. You give a young guy a lot of confidence, and then the sky's the limit. So, and they're doing a good job with him too, putting him in positions to be successful. And Baker is playing at a level that's MVP quality, and so for him, like I said, big, strong, confident football player right now.
Surprised that pass rush hasn't been as good without Nick Bosa. I mean, has it been at an acceptable level in your estimation?
We'll continue to grow. It's I'm not hitting any panic buttons. There's a lot of young guys in there still trying to find their way through the NFL. I thought even against the Rams, felt like Huff was just a breath away from ending the game a couple of times there in the fourth quarter. But can it be better? Absolutely. Could it be worse? Absolutely. But I'm not at that point where we're going to panic. We're going to keep working with these young guys and giving them opportunities to rush the passer, and they'll get better as the year goes.
Robert, there's some numbers that show that Trent Williams might be the fourth most double defensive lineman in the league. Well, how's he handling those doubles, and is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He is. He's from a run perspective, he's doing a really nice job setting edges. And there's like him and Alfred, for example, they're still trying to find their ways as pass rushers. There's times where Alfred, being the big man that he is looks like he's trying to play finesse, and there's times where Mikel's trying to run through people, and just having that change up where Mikel might have to play a little finesse and Alfred might run through somebody's face. It's just they're learning their style, they're learning what works for them, and the cool thing is that they've got tremendous intent. They play with tremendous strain. They're smart. They're upbeat. So we're excited to work with them. They'll continue to get better.
It's been a week since the Rams game, but can you go back and just reflect on the fourth down stop and just whatever you told the guys going into that specific play and your view of how it unfolded?
No, it was. I've been asked. First off, much respect to those guys. Stafford, Sean McVay, and Mike LaFleur, they outstanding job from a game plan standpoint, putting themselves in the position they put themselves in. And, we played it like short yardage, figured call our best short yardage call. They were going to call their best short yardage call. And to be honest, like that play that Sean ran, I don't want to speak for him, but based on our calculations, the success rate was ridiculously high when they run that play, and even if you knew what was coming, they still manage. They ran one earlier in the game where Upton hit it 2 yards in the backfield, and Kyron Williams still freaking got the first, or the back still got the first down. So it was one of those back and forths. I remember the first go around when we called timeout, we had 4 DNs on the field, so we needed to burn a timeout. And then obviously we got our personnel out there playing with the short yardage mentality. They hard count and called timeout, thought maybe, okay, they're going to kick the field goal. They still sent the group out there, and, just talking to Kyle, I said, hey, Kyle, based on the look, might need one. They broke the huddle and lined up the way they did and said, all right, we're going to let it ride, see what happens. And credit to the guys, man, they made a heck of a play. Triggered, played fast, and luckily we came on the right side of it.
Moved inside there right before the snap. I saw it when I watched the tape. Lucas and Fred really seemed keyed and ready to respond to that. Is that film study over the course of the week? Were they looking for that indicator?
It was one of those take a shot deals. There was, like I said, it was one of their best plays, and they're very, very successful at it. And it was I think it was the third or fourth time we saw it. So they, credit to, again, our guys. They triggered, they took their shot, and they ran that play. So
was quoted as saying, "Get in the C gap and F it up." Do they have that?
When you run that play, the C gap is everything. That's
So they have that kind of initiative, though, to recognize that and say, you do that and we'll help you.
absolutely. And these young men are smart. You know, you give them the information, but they still have to film study. They're still out there feeling those bullets being shot. Especially those young guys to be able to recognize that and trigger and play as fast as they did to create that knockback. Fred playing into that C gap, creating the initial knockback was critical, and then Siegel just triggering from his depth to finish it off and keep it from falling forward. It was a tremendous team effort.
Nightmare a few weeks ago.
The other stop, not that fourth down stop, but the other stop with Alfred Collins, Christian McCaffrey, and Fred Warner both saying that was the best play that they had ever seen. Have you ever seen a guy, let alone a rookie, make a play like that, a stop like that, given the circumstance? And did that make Alfred that much more impressive, given his slow start?
So Alfred, you know, like one, that it was probably one of the coolest individual efforts I've ever seen in a game of football. I mean, he splits a double team, and a cool side note to Alfred is during the evaluation process, we talked about how Alfred gives us something that we haven't really had since Buckner or Armstead. It's just a guy with tremendous length to be able to make those plays where he's just sprawling out and making a play that most D linemen in this league can't make. And it showed up there, the amount of strain and individual effort that it took for him to split the double team and just violent punch out. It was probably one of the coolest and most impressive individual efforts I've seen from an interior D lineman that close to the goal line. So that clip will be on teach tapes for a very, very, very long time. I could promise that. But you know, Alfred, he did get off to a slow start in training camp, but that young man, he's made of the right stuff. His day in and day out attitude, his work ethic, his strain, all of it. I mean, it's important to him. He loves this game, and he's going to be a problem. He'll continue to grow, and he's going to be a big, big problem in this league if he keeps the same mindset and the trajectory that he's going on.
You had a nightmare a few weeks ago that the Saints were going to light you up. How often do you have football nightmares, and what often happens in them?
I have nightmares all the time, man. I think I was up last night. I mean, I came home I got home at like midnight, and there was like 3 of my babies sitting in the sleeping in the bed, and I was like, where the hell am I going to sleep? I was cuddling sneak into the corner of the bed, and just stare at the ceiling for a couple hours. And my mind is always racing and thoughts of trying to help our guys be in the best position possible. Some good ideas, some bad ideas, but that's the hard part of being a football coach. I mean, cortisol levels are always high, so.
These nightmares include Egg Buka this week.
A lot of Baker, a lot of their skill guys, their backs, all of them. They do an outstanding job, and that Baker, like I said, he's playing at an MVP level. He makes that whole thing go, and again, credit to all the young guys who are stepping up with all the injuries that they're having. They're doing a really nice job putting up a lot of points on a lot of really good defenses.
Can you think of any other times in your career where your defense has gone on the road and the opposing offense has had to go to a silent count like the Rams did a couple of times on Thursday?
Yeah, I feel like that's been the case at any time we go down there. You know, it's in 2019 it was the Coliseum, and it felt the same way. You know, it was COVID the next year, but no, not like that. You know, SoFi, that was my first experience with fans in SoFi. Because if you guys remember, my only game in SoFi had been the COVID game. So, but no, it's pretty cool. We travel. I joke around. I say that the most Niner fans can't. You know, we're so expensive to live in the Bay. It's probably cheaper to go to a road game. You know, but it's good to see how much our fans travel. They're second to none.
It's on the other side of the line, but Adrian Martinez, what have you seen from him in his growth from when you had him in Jets versus now?
Yeah, Adrian's cool, man. If anyone gets a chance to spend a couple of days with Adrian, you come away impressed. And if you really think about it, everywhere he's gone, he's won. He won in college. He won in the UFL. He was MVP in the UFL. And you know, I've always said all it takes is an opportunity, and what you do with your opportunity is what's going to create your path, if you will. And it's awesome to have Adrian here. You guys know how I feel about Kyle and his staff. I think they're the best in the world, and And so he's getting an opportunity to be with some of the greatest coaches and in a really cool room with Mac and Brock and all those guys. So he's got a chance to do something cool. And, you know, if he ever gets his opportunity to step on the field, I think he's going to do awesome.
As far as game planning, how much of a resource is Kyle, and vice versa? How much do you pitch in with the offensive game plan?
Pitch in? No. I'd probably ruin it, but no. My conversations with Kyle, we're always going back and forth, talking ball. He's probably one of the cooler ones to talk to, and it's not to have that resource at your disposal and not use it would be silly on my part. So.
And Alfred, real quick, he had mentioned after the game that the play that he got the punch out on, it was similar to something he saw earlier in the game, and he kind of overran it. Just in terms of his mental growth and recognizing things in real time and making adjustments like that, how has he maybe improved?
All of them. You know, I had a really cool conversation with Upton Stout on the in practice today. He was asking how he can feel routes when we're 99. You know, we want 99.9 vision on the quarterback, and he's like, "Well, I'm also responsible for these routes. How do I feel them? How do I do that?" And my answer to him was simply reps. Eventually, you get to the point where you recognize formations, you recognize indicators, you recognize from film study on how teams like to attack us as a defense that you just know what the route is, so you can play. You're playing routes without ever having to see them because you feel, you know, you can see the quarterback, you see the mannerisms, and that's where you get faster and faster and faster. But you know, that's kind of the whole thing with our scheme. People say we don't do a lot, but what we do it very, very fast, and it's very, very sound. And it's fast because our guys get to the point where they just know what's happening to them, so they can go faster. And that's where Upton's at. That's where Alfred's at. That's where all these rookies are. They're still learning, and they need reps to be able to gather information, gather feel of football, start understanding how teams attack us, how teams block us, how teams come at us on a play-in, play-out basis. And once they get to that point of true understanding, that's when you see their ultimate speed.
Adrian Martinez at in like grasping the playbook, and if he has to go in for some reason.
I think he's right where he needs to be. Super impressed with Adrian since he's been here. He's a really smart guy. You know, you can tell he's gotten a little more reps just because of the, you know, Mac kind of progressing a little bit through the week, and Adrian hasn't missed a beat. He's been on it, and I feel like Adrian can go out there and run our offense. So really confident in him.
So there wouldn't be any limitation in the plays that you could call. He's got the full playbook.
Yep, 100%.
What's Brock Purdy's contribution to the game plan and getting Mac up to speed to play?
Yeah, I think just Brock's presence every day in the meeting rooms. You know, Brock's been through our process of preparing for games and how we install and how we you know, watch film and all those things. And he can kind of, he's just helpful to those guys, you know, and kind of sharing his process and you know, talking to guys about what he sees in a defense, kind of how he would do things. So just his presence, you know, his experience, just kind of being words of wisdom for Mac and for Adrian. You know, that's really all he can do in terms of, you know, helping those guys prepare and then just being there to support them. So.
When we were watching film on a guy like Mac before you signed him, you can envision how he's going to fit, just, you know, stylistically. But in terms of toughness, things that you can't see until you get up close to him, what have you learned about him and what you've seen from him so far?
I think that's very true. You know, you don't really know until you get a guy and you see him play. And you know, I think we all knew Mac was a tough player. I think we didn't have any assumption he wasn't. But when you see a guy go out there and battle and you know, work through the injuries and get hit and stay in the game when it's not looking good, or when it, you know, when we have to come from behind in a 2-minute drill, like all those things, and you learn a lot about a guy. And Max just keeps proving time and time again that he's made of the right stuff, and he's built to play quarterback in this league. So it's been pretty cool.
Last week, how close did you think did you think you were going to have to go to Adrian there?
I think for a moment we were all pretty scared, you know. When he was down and then he popped up and jogged off, and we're like, all right, we took a breath. But, you know, so, yeah.
Nick Saban was saying last week that when he had Mac at Alabama, he called him Mac in a row because of his high school tennis background, but also because he was prone to going off. If he made a bad throw or he did something bad and he was throwing like almost like mini tantrums, and I don't know if he was exaggerating, but I'm curious if is there any part of that still with him now, or is he totally...
No, I mean, Mac's very competitive, and you do see it in those moments where he might miss a throw or somebody was off on a play. He just has a passion, and it can come out, sometimes, and we love it. I mean, it's part of what makes him who he is. It makes him a competitor. It makes him, he's very detailed, and he likes things very detailed. And he's hard on himself. He's hard on his teammates, and that's what we like about him. As far as the tennis thing goes, it's funny you say that because we happen to think, the way a guy moves in tennis and Mac's tennis background can help you as a thrower. The way you move in a pocket, there's similarities, and it's both of those are true.
What have you seen as far as the interaction between Kyle and Robert as far as, game planning and back and forth, and how much of a resource they are for each other?
Coach Saleh? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's really cool to be a part of and to see, just the way that they both kind of share their knowledge and experience with each other. Kyle kind of sharing things he's seen from an offensive perspective to help him and vice versa. And Coach Saleh is helpful to me. We talk all the time. We just kind of, share what we're seeing with our opponents. And it's a great working relationship. And, I've benefited from it. Our whole team has. So it's good.
Tampa has a really good run D, but Seattle ran for over 6 yards a carry last week. What did the film show when you watched? How did they have success?
Yeah, they hit a few big ones. I think they had a couple carry. I know they had like a 30-yard carry. Walker maybe had like another 21. So they had a few explosives, so that adds up. They did some stuff to kind of, I think, wear down Tampa a little bit just by staying on the field. And so just kind of, the fatigue caught Tampa on a drive or two that allowed them to run the ball. But, they're the number one run defense in the league for a reason. They're big, they're physical, they do things schematically that really can shut down your run game. So yeah, we see some things that Seattle did that you'd love to do, but we know they're going to be ready to go and ready to stop the run. So it's going to be a big challenge.
How much is what Kendrick Bourne has done on the field to give you confidence in what can happen going forward?
Yeah, I mean, he just gets better every week. He's a gamer. He's still, you see a guy who's still learning to grasp our offense schematically, but he gets better every week, and he's such a joy to be around because he's all in. He's got a great attitude. He works at it. And I think he's a guy who's just, the more he's out there, the more he's going to help us. And so really excited about what he's done, what we hope he can keep doing. So.
Is his chemistry with Mac evident on the field and not just in the games, but at practice throughout?
Yeah, you can tell they have a good relationship. They have the history. You can just tell they can talk to each other in the game too. When I think KB had the drop and Matt can just go to him and just communicate and get him dialed in for the next play. And it's really cool. And we kind of knew that about them. They had a relationship in the past. So, I'm glad it's working out for us now.
The injury setback, but how would you assess how Connor Colby has done?
Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's done a good job. He's like a lot of rookies. There's ups and downs, and there's plays you'd want to have back. There's things he can do better. He's battling through some stuff, but a lot of guys are. So Connor's just about getting better every week and learning from the film. We're coaching him hard. He's playing hard. But it's like anybody else. You got to learn from the previous game. You got to keep getting better. And I think the more he's out there, he's going to keep getting better. So, yeah.
Kyle, over the last few years, he talks more about the rushing attempts than the rushing yards and how important they are. And even in the last game, we like 70-some yards on 30 carries. That doesn't look good. But how important are those attempts to sort of, keep the defense honest?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the last game, we didn't have good yards, but we had the attempts, which means we're on the field. We're staying on the field, and we're converting some third downs and we're sustaining some drives. And even though the runs aren't producing what we want them to, we're still able to get those. And even if they're 4-yard runs, 3-yard runs, they still have that effect on the defense, And so that is a positive. But do we want to keep getting better? Yeah. Do we want to have more yards? Yes. But anytime you can stay on the field, whether it be throwing the ball or not, you're going to get those attempts, and that means you're moving the ball. And so it doesn't always work out that way, but that's how it did work out on Thursday, So we want to get more production on the ground, but as long as we're staying on the field, we're going to keep trying. So.
What are the characteristics of a Bulls defense? I know he brings a lot of pressure, but what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of pressure. You said it. It starts with just the experience of the guys who are running the show. I mean, you look at Levante David and in the back end, and you got Vita in the front, and just guys who've been there, and those core guys. They run that scheme very well. They've been doing it for years, so they have a lot of confidence in each other. They're tough to go against. They're very physical. They challenge you with pressures. They challenge you with man coverage. They get after you on third down with blitzes, and so they're a defense that can make a lot of plays, and you got to be ready for all that stuff. And it's the challenge of the week, and that's what we're getting ready for.
All right, how y'all doing? Good.
I know you've moved on from the last game, and as Trent was just saying, it seems like weeks ago since it was a Thursday game, but how much feedback did you get for your performance that night? So many people talking about how tough you are and things you battled through, teammates, media, everything.
Yeah, I think everybody did, honestly. It was a tough game. Any overtime game in the NFL, you're going to have guys who are playing more plays, and the defense did a great job, and I was really just proud of the team, and that's part of football is playing tough, and the tough part is, getting back and having to do it the next week. So we had a couple of days, and at the end of the day, all these games are going to hopefully come down to one score, and you just got to be tough and mentally, physically, and put your body through it, and then keep playing.
Follow up on that question about your toughness, and I mean, you had some spurts in the game where it looks like you were tired, it looked like you were hurting, you were dry heaving, but you were fighting through like all the ailments that you were dealing with. Did you learn anything about yourself that game? Did anything happen where you like, I unlocked something in my own confidence about myself after that game?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I just think that every game's different, and in that game I knew it was going to take a lot of toughness and just taking it one play at a time. And I believe if you can protect yourself, that you should be out there and playing. And a lot of guys are working through stuff. That's the NFL, and I've learned that you just got to be able to go out there and protect yourself and play. And yeah, I think that's our team's DNA right now, and we got to continue that. Just because you do it for one week or 2 weeks or 3 or whatever, you got to be able to not be complacent with your effort and toughness, and that's something that you can control, to be honest. And that's a variable that you can control. So I always focus on that. The results take care of themselves, but you can be tough and have a good attitude and work through the mental and physical stuff, and that's all you can ask for, really.
You had an eventful Thursday. Can you take us through what happened to begin the day in your hotel room?
Yeah, there was just some police activity and stuff, and I don't really want to talk about it, and it was before the game or whatever, and I'm kind of just moved on to this week.
How did you spend the weekend kind of recovering, and how do you feel right now?
Yeah, it's every game you have a plan for what you need to fix and what you need to get better at, not only on the field but off the field with your body and how you feel. So for me, just getting treatment every day and working, and we have a good plan in place, and I feel confident, and I'm just working through it day by day, and that's all you can do.
Did you suffer your oblique injury on the last snap? And if so, do you think you could have continued to play?
Yeah, it was definitely in the game, and I don't know. That was the last snap, so I guess you didn't have to find out. But yeah, I think, like I said, we got a plan in place, and just got to work through it and make sure you can protect yourself.
Where are you right now, health-wise?
Working through it. I think, like I said, got a plan with the training staff, and been getting treatment every day and trying to do everything I can, sleep, eat, do the little things, and everyone else is doing the same thing. So that's NFL football.
Is there a difficulty with throwing right now? Just during the portion of practice we got to watch, I noticed you weren't doing a ton.
Yeah, well, Mick Lombardi got to go out there and play quarterback, so he looked pretty good.
Because of the oblique, that just kind of resting?
Yeah, I was just trying to save some throws, and there's a lot of volume out there, and at the end of the day, got to be ready for Sunday, and like I said, we got a plan, so I'm taking it day by day.
When it comes to Adrian Martinez, Coach Saleh said if you spend a little bit of time with him, then you will be impressed by him. Just we see you guys out there chit-chatting, laughing sometimes, vibing.
For sure.
What's the relationship between you and Martinez, but also the type of person he is, player, preparation? What is it like from your perspective?
Yeah, I think he's really cool, just laid back dude, and doesn't let a lot get to him, and I feel like he has had an interesting journey and played really well, and obviously he's done a great job. Like, just having him in the room, he's just a cool vibe. So really appreciate him. We've got to know each other and gotten close. So he's the same guy every day, and those are the guys you want in your quarterback room. And that makes it easy for Brock and I and everybody and the coaches. So when you have a quarterback room that's unified and together, like, you can go places, and when you don't really go anywhere. So.
You mentioned that you have a plan that you're working with the training staff on. Do you feel if the game was today, would you be comfortable playing?
Yeah, I mean, the game's not today, right? So I don't really do like the theoretical questions, but definitely feel like I have a good plan in place, and the game's on Sunday, and we'll see how I feel when we get there.
I'm sure you probably saw the clip from Nick Saban over the weekend telling everybody that he used to call you McEnroe because you would blow up and you didn't make a perfect play, and also because of your tennis background.
Okay.
Is that still part of you in terms of making a throw and
Yeah, I need to call him because I thought we graduated from that. He brings that one up every year. I'm like, Coach Saban, like, get a new joke or something. But next time I see him, I'll rip him just like he used to rip me. But no, I definitely had to work on that, and he actually helped me a lot with that. And hope the next time he talks about it, he'll talk about the progress I made from my freshman to my sophomore year, just working with different people on staff, doctors and whatnot, and just meeting with people and having these conversations about how can I get my mental game better, and really just playing each play one play at a time. That's what he preached. But there's a guy named, he's the Wizard, Alani Rosen. He worked with him at Michigan State. So I got to meet with him, and that kind of helped me really get my mental game going and kind of just play each play one play at a time and not show emotion like that. And I really graduated from that, so he can stop saying that.
was saying that he thought that the tennis is transferable in terms of things you do in the pocket.
Yeah.
Is that true, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't play like super competitively. I was pretty competitive, but my sister played in college and my dad obviously in the pros. So the serve is very similar to the throwing motion, and my dad used to have me warm up with a tennis racket because you're doing the same motion, and then your footwork is very similar because you could be playing on clay and it's you're sliding around, or you could play on hard court and you got to be very firm with your footing. So and then obviously running to the ball, you have to have hand-eye coordination. So it's all reaction based, and I do feel like I haven't played tennis in a while, but I can go out there and hit the ball, and I do feel like it helps me with my feet.
Do you get football nightmares when you're sleeping? And if so, could you give an example of one?
A what?
Football nightmares.
Not really. Not anymore, at least. Maybe back in the day, but right now I'm good.
Matt, going back to Coach Saban, do you ever see him on College Game Day and he's light and funny, and do you ever think, where was this when I was your player?
Yeah. No, he was light and funny with me. I think you just have to be able to give him something back, If you act scared of Coach Saban, then he knows he can be mean and stuff. But I did like his white suit the other night. That was pretty nice. So hopefully he keeps wearing some good suits. That's where I get my suits from. So all right, thanks.
AC, man, he's every since his first day in camp, he's taking huge strides every day, every game, every week. So that was really good to see it come full circle.
Speaking of young guys, Adrian Martinez, he's been out there with the practice squad, but if Mac Jones and Brock Purdy both can't go, how confident are you in him?
Yeah, I'm confident in anybody that Cal chooses to line up with, because I know what they put in to the scouting department and bringing people in. So I know that anybody that makes it to that huddle is vetted. So obviously haven't played a lot with them, haven't seen a lot of them. So obviously I'm just going off of trust of him being an NFL player and being able to get his job done, because it's the next man of the league, and that's really the trust you got to have.
You and the Bucs have been in one-score games every week this season. Their 4 wins are all last-minute fashion. I don't think you guys need a reminder in playing all 4 quarters, but I mean, with the Bucs, is that more emphasized and more alert because of it?
No, we've had to play all 4 quarters every single football game. So, even 5 quarters you count the Rams. So, ain't no emphasis on that. I think we are expecting a dog fight. I know they're expecting a dog fight. So, this game will have a life of its own once we kick it off on Sunday.
When you tap into your experience that you've had in all these years in the league, it feels like things are closer now game to game than they ever have been. Is that kind of a true reflection right now?
Yeah, I think the league, everything is starting to even out. I think we've been seeing it the last few years, but there's no easy outs. Schedules, none of that matters. There's good players, there's good coaches on every franchise in the NFL, and you can see it with the final scores. You can see teams that you don't expect to win coming out with a win or making things close, or So yeah, the NFL I think is producing a really good product. It's stressful to play a 4-quarter game that comes down to the last play, but I know that fans love it, and I know that it does a lot for the game.
What's it been like getting to know Mac Jones? We see a very funny guy who holds himself in a light way. What's your, take on his personality?
Exactly the same. Exactly what you said. Very funny guy, keeps things light. Just really a thrill to be around, honestly.
Alfred Collins told me earlier that he's got a Texas shirt waiting for you, Red River Rivalry this weekend.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah, Red River Rivalry. You got anything going with him this week?
I got a box of OU stuff right there, 3X, so I think it's going to fit him just nice. So, we're gonna get him Boomer Sooner down. I don't know where he get all this faith in the Texas team right now, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
To kind of go back to Mac Jones, to see him, he was out there, pants falling down, he was heaving. He was having a hard time, but he was fighting through it and still had a pretty good game. You guys get the win, as he's done every time he started. What did that almost cement him into the minds of the vets here, especially as that much tougher of a player, or did you guys know that he was that way when you got out there?
I never questioned his toughness. He's been playing through the knee injury the whole year. So no, never questioned his toughness. He's a first-round talent. So no, never questioned him. Whether we won or lost that game, I think he cemented himself amongst this locker room as somebody we can trust and depend on. So. Obviously we're happy the results went our way, but I don't think that had anything to do with how we would look at them going forward.
Do you ever have football nightmares when you sleep? And if so, could you give an example?
Yeah, I get one frequently, and it's I'm pretty sure a lot of us get that, but oversleeping the game, pulling up in like halftime. Wake up in a sweat on that one.
What have you seen on tape from Baker?
He's talented, he's aggressive, and he's a true competitor.
How about Emeka Egbuka?
He got some good tool. He got a good tool belt. Plays with confidence. He's a decent, good receiver.
As you guys look for that first interception, what's being said in the room, and any kind of bounty on the first guy that gets the first interception?
Not really. We just saying this is the week and go take one. That's the big thing. Just go take one this week. We're gonna have our options up to us to capitalize on it.
You guys learned last year about you saw this same team last year. What did you learn last year about the way they attack you, the way that he wants to go after you?
We gonna have our ops. When it's time to capitalize and make a play, we got to make a play, and then we got to play all 4 quarters and don't take our foot off the gas.
That's the thing with the Bucs. They've had 4 wins in the last-minute fashion. So has that been drilled into you guys? Not that it ever is, but how aware that they stick around.
If you look at what we just did, we've kind of been in a similar situation. So I guess it's gonna be like survival of the fittest.
Being a Florida kid, I'm not sure if Tampa is the area you're from, but being able to go back home second year. Obviously, first year you're rookie, you're trying to think through the game, but this time it's kind of a little bit, it's caught up to you. Is it more exciting to go home and play, or it doesn't really faze you at all?
It don't really faze me. I played in Florida my whole life. I went to Florida State. Just going back is just like being in my backyard, but playing out here kind of became my backyard as I got used to it. So I'm just happy and thankful I'm able to play football and I'm able to go out there and just put on a show.
What's it been like having Malik back on the field with you guys?
Oh, it's been great. Malik, like my partner in crime, we always be saying a dynamic duo. So the dynamic duo is back out there. We look to, cause terror, create a lot of problems for a lot of other people.
I heard about you talked about last second plays and there being so many of them, but your defense has been on the field for the last play for several of these wins. How much does it help you guys knowing that you've won those kind of goals in the past already this season?
When they show up later in the season, it's not nothing that we ain't never seen, and we done played against it in the worst circumstances or bad calls by the refs and everything. We just kept persevering and playing through it. So as the season go on, all we gonna do is just get better and grow.
What is it about Malik that drew you two together? Is it your style of play, just similar position?
Me and Malik been playing each other since we was in college. So
my head coach back in college, Norvell, used to like point them out on film, and then we actually trained together for the draft. And then that's when we started conversating and stuff like that. Then we got drafted here. So, you know, Malik's a dog. He's a dog. He got that savage in him. And anytime you get a guy who's going to compete and, you know, play for his brothers and put his, you know, basically body on the line and everything else for his brothers and his team, you got no choice but to respect that.
What happened on that play? I mean, that was the whole ball game on that play.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was just we knew the situation. We knew that it was going to come down to this play. They had previously ran that play before during the game, and luckily I was watching it at that time. My boy Jay Penn and my boy Demo just came up and told me, like, hey, man, it's going to come up on you quick. I'm pretty sure you guys seen the video of it. So I just knew, I'm like, I'm going to have to take on these two dudes and just hope I can clock it up, and then hopefully my brothers will make a play. And I knew Diamador and I knew Siegel was going to be there. So, and me and Fred just went 2-on-3 and the end of the game.
How does it help that you guys have had so many games already this year that have been decided by the defense being on there for the last series and come out ahead of those? How does it help you guys long term for the season? I mean,
I know you guys seen it last year. You know, we didn't finish in those times and didn't finish in those the plays that we needed last year. So it's just cool to see, man. Just, you know, from the first game to this last game, you know, I feel like we gave everything we had on that field, man. And I got to give it credit to 5'4", man. Fred, he's not one of the best. He's the best player ever to play football. And, you know, us rallying behind him and him just being the leader he is, I think we're going to get the job done no matter what.
The fact that you guys
I'm sorry.
The fact that you guys have that kind of chemistry among you,
right.
I mean, that's kind of, it speaks to the experience of the group being together, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, Demo been here 5 years, Fred has been here his whole career, but then you got guys that just got here. You know, this is my second year here, Siegel's first year, Stout's first year, and I know Tig been here 3 years. It's just a whole bunch of collective guys that come in as a unit, man, and I'm not gonna lie, I think this is one of the best team chemistries I've ever been a part of, you know, coming from Detroit, but I think we all got each other's back, and that IGYB is a real thing.
Well, can I get my lotion? So you got back?
I don't got it, bro. I don't got it.
Can you have my back?
I don't got it, brother.
What makes you say that about Fred? Is it something he said on that play, did on that play? Is it all encompassing? Is he always the guy to kind of make sure that you guys are alert, vigilant, knowing what it is that's going on out there?
Are you saying about the best player everything?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I ain't gonna lie. I do everything that he does, I try to copy, because you can just see it in his intent. I've never seen him miss a practice. I've never seen him miss a game. I've never seen him miss a rep. And, you know, me being the same age as him, I look at him like he's just this great player, man. He already got the gold jacket on, and I think everything he does, he says and he means, and I believe like all of us just kind of just buy into it, man. And I think I buy into it a little bit more because I see how great he is, and I just want to be on the same platform.
How do you go about staying ready? Because you just never know when you might be called on in a game.
Right. I don't know. I think it's a personal thing, honestly. I know some people in my position or other positions, they just kind of sit around and mope and just wait for it. But I expect it. You know what I mean? I don't get prepared. I stay prepared, and I think that's a credit to my teammates and my coaches as well, like Daniel Bullocks and Coach Brown.
You guys have a big challenge this week. Baker Mayfield's been as good as anybody in the league so far this year.
Sure.
What does he present for you guys in the secondary?
Man, you said it, man. He's been great. He's making great keys. He's actually keeping the ball out of other teams' hands, and I think he competes, man. I think that's the best thing about him. He competes every down, competes every snap, and but that's also his kryptonite as well, man. He wants to make those big plays, and I believe like if we're ready for it and we're on top of it like we are all the time, I think we're gonna get our hands on balls, and I believe that we're gonna come out victorious.